Fallingwater, designed by Lloyd Wright from 1935 to 1937, is said to be one of the most important architectural homes in the 20th century, and today we're going to look at some of its history. The house was commissioned by Edgar Kaufmann Sr. and his wife to be a weekend retreat for the family. The house was built near the Barron area in southwestern Pennsylvania. Wright was introduced to Kaufmann through his son, who studied at Wright's studio for a year, and Wright first began the Kaufmann relationship by designing Kaufmann's interior office at his Kaufmann department store in Pittsburgh. By 1934, Wright made his first visit to the Barron area to check out the area. Wright had been told by the Kaufmanns that they wanted a weekend house that would allow them to see the beautiful waterfall that they frequently visited. However, Wright instead built the house directly above the waterfall since he wanted the house and nature to exist together. At the time of designing the house, Wright said, quote, "With this house, we're going to beat the internationalists at their own game," since at the time, the most popular type of architecture that was emerging during the 1920s was the internationalist style. With the international style, some main characteristics were, quote, "architecture as volume, using thin planes or surfaces to create the building's form, and no applied ornaments." Other key characteristics that were seen were, quote, "visible steel frames, large panes of glass, and the use of a flat roof." For example, Walter Gropius, founder of the Bauhaus and practitioner of the internationalist style, believed in architecture that was, quote, "not confined to any specific place," and he urged architects to build free from restrictions of site, climate, and historical traditions. In addition, some architectures associated with internationalist style believed in the, quote, "vision of the future," such as Le Corbusier, who famously said that a house is a machine for living in. This was in contrast to Wright's belief that architecture was obliged to exalt and imitate nature alone. Although Wright didn't agree with all the nationalist style beliefs, he did borrow some elements from them. For example, the Lovell Beach House designed by Rudolf Schindler might have influenced Wright to some degree. This house consisted of, quote, 5 reinforced concrete bolsters lifting up a cantilever balcony, much the same way that the structure at Fallingwater was built. Wright had been sitting on the idea to build Fallingwater for about 9 months before he finally decided to draw out the base plans, which was in September of 1935. And by October 1935, the rendering as seen by this photo was made. However, it was said that Wright came up with the idea of Fallingwater in only 2 hours. The design of the house was Wright's way of displaying his ideas of organic architecture, whose goal was to, quote, "integrate humans, architecture, and nature together so that each one would be improved by the relationship." Construction of Fallingwater began in 1936 and was completed with the family moving in by fall of 1937. The house is mainly made of 4 main materials: concrete, stone, glass, steel, as well as wood and brick. Wright began with the fireplace as the functional, quote, "and spiritual heart of Fallingwater," such that by the fireplace, a boulder was used to build the house around it. The base structure of the house is mainly composed of, quote, "exposed columns and beams forming the piers on which the floor and base of the house rest, elevating the building and supporting the weight of the cantilevers. The concrete is reinforced with steel at different areas of the house and throughout the various floors of the home, as seen by this photo. The cantilevers, however, have been criticized due to not providing enough support for them, and over time they actually have drooped and required more engineering to prevent them from collapsing. The interior consists of 3 floors. The first floor contains a living room, small kitchen, fireplace, and 2 servant spaces. The interior of the house is often seen as low, dark, noisy, and damp, a characteristic that adds to the atmosphere being close to the forest. The second floor consists of 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and Mr. Kaufmann's office, and a library. The interiors also are filled with custom designed furniture that Wright built to match his vision for the house. The walls of the living room are composed of masonry sourced from local stone, and the floor is mainly made of large, quote, "glabs of glaze stone that, quote, mimic the wet rocks in the Bear Run stream bed." In addition, Wright decided to use steel casement windows that would open on both sides to be fully immersed in nature. And he also used corner windows such as this one that allow views of the outside to be seen without any interference. In the living room, for example, the use of large windows would eliminate the need, quote, "for separation between rooms and their terraces." Overall, Fallingwater fused with nature so well that the ads were being made about the house, such as this one in Mexico, calling it the ideal place to live, since for some people it perfectly, quote, represented the middle-class residential dream. Overall, the house's legacy and influence on modern architecture remains to this day. Hopefully you found this video somewhat informative, and be sure to check out Frank Lloyd Wright's other projects as well. Thank you.